This is the Digital Marketing Experts Podcast episode. No, why am I trying to sound like a radio announcer? Experts on the Wire, Episode 4. Ross Simmonds. Hello. Welcome everyone to Episode 4 of Experts on the Wire. I am very pumped to have Ross Simmonds on the show today. He's going to talk all about SlideShare in LinkedIn, Facebook targeting, content curation, and the new apps, the audio apps like Anchor, and a little bit about Snapchat. So we have a very action-packed show. Before we get into the interview, just a few quick notes. If you've been liking this podcast, I know we're only on episode 4, but now we're kind of getting to the point where, maybe around episode 4, 5, 6, you can start to see the consistency of what we're trying to do with the show. So if you feel like giving us a review on iTunes, I would greatly appreciate that. It will help us get found better in the iTunes store. And definitely be honest, don't feel like you have to give all praise. I mean, I love praise, but any kind of constructive criticism or feedback is very welcome. You can also give me feedback directly. I'm very attentive to that. You can get me on Twitter at Dan_Shore. That's Dan_SHURE. And also, make sure you listen through to this whole podcast episode with Ross because he's doing a contest and you're going to want to pay attention to how to win that contest at the end. Also, just a quick note, if you haven't listened to the intro episode about Experts on the Wire, definitely do that. I'll give you just a background about what the show is about, what we're trying to do, and definitely check out the first 3 episodes, especially the last one with Brian Dean, which I got a lot of positive feedback about that. And make sure to stick around for episode 5 with Phil Rosnick from Local Visibility System. He is a local SEO expert, and that episode is going to be pretty jam-packed with some tips and value as well. So enough of the chit-chat. Let's get on to episode 4 with Ross Simmonds. Hello and welcome to the 4th episode of Experts on the Wire. I'm super excited about my guest today, Ross Simmonds. Ross, how are you?
Very well, thanks, Dan. It is a pleasure to be on the show with you. I'm excited to chat about digital marketing and all the crazy stuff going on in this world.
Awesome. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. So for those of you tuning in, definitely you're going to want to listen to the whole thing. We got a lot of questions to cover. We're going to get into some tactics, some specifics. But Ross is also kind enough to do a little contest at the end. So I'll tell you what we're going to give away, what Ross is going to give away at the end of the show, but definitely pay attention to that at the end. So before we get into the actual marketing tactics and everything, I want to jump right into some of your background, Ross. So actually, this is the first time we've ever spoken kind of face-to-face, not on social media.
Right.
And the other people I interviewed, I know a little bit more about their background because I know them a little bit better. So give me a little background on yourself. Like, how'd you get into marketing? What were your...
For sure.
Yeah, your early experiences, and what are you up to now?
Yeah, so I know me and you have been shooting emails and tweets and snaps and waves on Anchor back and forth for the last few months. So it is a pleasure to kind of finally get to go from the pixels to the flesh. One of the things that I always go back to when it comes to marketing in my early beginnings was really in high school. So in high school, I started up my first business. And my first business wasn't digital. It wasn't a technology-driven business, but it kickstarted my passion for entrepreneurship as a whole. I was the kid who stumbled upon do-rags at a very young age. I used to wear a variety of different colors. I don't know if your readers are familiar with do-rags, but they're essentially kind of like bandana caps that allow your hair to kind of stay tight, essentially. And back in the 90s, you could only get a few colors. And I found this store which allowed you to kind of buy a variety of different colors, all the colors of the rainbow, and you could get them for like $1. So I bought all of these, found this store, took all of this product essentially to school, and I started selling these do-rags out of my locker for about $10 a pop. So I was getting about $9 profit, and then the kind of money started coming through. I was the cool kid who had all of this revenue coming through selling do-rags. And I was like, all right, this entrepreneurship thing is going to be around for a while. I need to double down on this and really start something. So I always had a passion for football. I decided that my first big real business was going to be running a fantasy football blog, which I ran all through towards the end of high school and into university. When I kickstarted that, I started to set up a variety of different affiliate sites and that kind of started to open my mind to this crazy world of e-commerce. I was still studying marketing at the time in university. So while the traffic was going up and I was getting featured on sites like Sporting News, Sports Illustrated, I was only a 22-year-old kid, but people were starting to kind of listen to what I was saying as it related to fantasy football. And it started to kind of click to me that this internet thing was going to last, that this internet thing was really where I should have been allocating my time. At the time, like, my professors weren't talking about the internet. They weren't talking about Google. They weren't talking about Facebook. So when I started to see that I was able to make money living in my parents' basement with a fantasy football blog, I was like, okay, this internet thing's going to really take off. So I just started to study the game, really started to kind of follow the blogs, follow the trends, and started to launch my own blog, which was rawsimmonds.com. Started that back in 2009. And then from there, I just started to share my ideas and my philosophies around content marketing, startup marketing, where the industry was going. What happened with my fantasy blog is kind of funny. As my traffic and views went up, my marks went down. So my mom told me I had to shut down that site. Till this day, I still tell her that I could have been on ESPN if she didn't do that. But that really kickstarted the entire kind of the wave for me as it related to marketing. And I've been in the game ever since. Implemented social media strategies all across Canada. That was kind of my first role. I worked with a local broadcast, well, not a local, a national broadcaster called the CBC. Implemented their social media strategy on this side of Canada. And then from there, started my own agency, which was then I got contacted by a larger agency and they wanted to bring me in-house. I then quit that agency to launch my final kind of destination, which is the consulting company I run today, as well as 2 startups, Hustle and Grind and Crate.
Man, that's an awesome story. I already have like 10 things in my head I want to circle back to and ask about. But would you consider yourself, and I'm asking this question because my hope is a lot of listeners to the show will not only be marketers, but business people or entrepreneurs that have to do marketing or learn about it or hire marketers. So would you consider yourself more an entrepreneur or more a marketer or an even mix of both?
It's a great question, Dan. I think at the end of the day, I'm a mix of both. I think that you have to be a marketer to be a successful entrepreneur. And I'd say that because at the end of the day, you have to position some type of value to people and they have to acquire that value. And the only way that you can do that is if you're able to convince them that what you're selling is truly valuable. So I'd say that I'm an entrepreneur at heart. That's like my DNA. And I'd say that when it comes to my specialty as it relates to kind of getting things done and really driving results, the marketing side is where I excel. I'm not a finance guy. I'm not an accounting guy. I can get it done, but I do have a bookkeeper and some financial planners that help me navigate that space just because it's not really a passion. But when it comes to marketing, that's something that I can get excited about and talk about for days.
Awesome. So one thing I want to set up too, because the other aspect of this show is everyone that I'm inviting to the show is an expert. I'm picking people that can provide expert information to the listeners. Because I find that often business owners, entrepreneurs, they have a hard time digging through all the noise to find the person who knows what they're really talking about. So I want to give you a chance right now to do a little bit of bragging. And is there like a huge win or a victory story that you have of a success with business or marketing that you can kind of tell the listeners so they can go, oh, okay, I should pay attention and listen to this Ross guy?
For sure. So I'll give 3 things. The first thing that I would kind of hold my hat on is I've had a lot of success in the content marketing space as it relates to a variety of different platforms. One platform in particular that I've been able to do extremely well with is SlideShare. So I've been able to do more than 1.2 million views on SlideShare. My decks have been seen by people all over the world. They have allowed me to do presentations and land clients of more than 5 figures, essentially, to kind of go all over the world and speak and provide insights and information around digital marketing and how it's changing the game. Outside of that, I tend to kind of do experiments frequently. And one of my recent experiments was with Hustle and Grind and Instagram, where we were able to grow that account to over 70,000 followers within less than a year. So again, that's something that I've been able to gain a lot of insight from because I, again, like to experiment and push myself into these different areas. One that a lot of people seem to be intrigued by is the fact that I was able to build a $250,000 business by 26 years old, which was my freelance company, where I was able to kind of build that up as a sole proprietor, running it on my own, and build up that through content marketing and developing a system that allowed me to generate leads through online and then kind of just execute for my clients. That business, since then, I'm not 26 anymore, so I'm now 28, but that business has continued to grow. And I think that when it comes down to it, I can provide a lot of information and insights that can help freelancers, people who want to kind of jump into that path and really start to kind of live life on their own terms.
Wow, those success stories. So what I hope the listeners take away from that is, Ross, you're definitely somebody that I want you as the listener to listen through this whole episode, because I think we're going to get some really nice expert information out of this. One last quick question before we get into some of the tactics and marketing stuff specifically. You mentioned a lot of things that you've done. So what are your current companies / projects, and could you divide them up percentage-wise by what you're working on right now?
So right now, my time is split up amongst a technology startup called Crate, getcrate.co, which is a content curation software that allows people to kind of identify content that's relevant to them and then put their social media channels on autopilot, where Crate will seamlessly start to schedule that content to go out for you. So let's say you're interested in marketing, you go into Crate, you type in marketing, you type in growth hacking, you type in SEO, we'll deliver the articles that are the best on that topic, and then you can, with a couple clicks of a button, schedule that content to be shared out on your Twitter account with ease. In addition to that, I run a company called Hustle and Grind. Hustle and Grind is a coffee subscription service for entrepreneurs. In addition to the coffee, we sell posters, we sell coffee mugs, we sell t-shirts, and we also sell information products that help people become better entrepreneurs. We've sold a variety of different products. We're starting to get into courses that we're going to be offering as well. The community is growing very quickly, and that's a channel that's a business that kind of started as a side project and has evolved into something more. And then I do consulting as well. The consulting side of things has been slowing down solely because I want to allocate more time to Crate and Hustle and Grind. So I've been saying no to a lot of projects, but it's still something I get passionate about. Like, I love helping startups and tech companies drive real results through content, because it is a crazy space and it's not something that is easy to navigate. Like, there's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of people positioning themselves as experts and giving bad advice. And I do try to help as much as I can. I try to use my resources that I write about on my blog and in the SlideShares to kind of communicate that value, because there's not enough hours in a day to help everyone. But I do try to take on a couple projects here and there if there's the right fit.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Because like we've said, we've conversed online a little bit, but I wasn't quite sure what your current things were, because I know you got your hands on a lot of stuff. And also, sure. I know the listeners don't have video, but you're seeing me on video. If you saw me bend over a second ago,
I did.
The water I brought with me to my office leaked everywhere, and it spilled all over my desk.
Oh, man.
So everything's cool now, but I got a little stuff to clean up after we record the episode. But
I'm pretty silly myself. I put in an order yesterday on Amazon for like a key cover. It's like a skin that you can just place over top of your keyboard. So if something spills, it catches it for you.
That's smart. So entrepreneurs and business people out there, pay attention to key cover. It can prevent disasters. So, and you're up in Canada, right?
I am, yes. So I'm in Canada. I spend the majority of my time bouncing back and forth between Halifax, Nova Scotia, which is on the East Coast, very small little province, less than 1 million people live here, and Toronto, which is the 6th. So shout out to Drake.
Yeah, I love Drake's producer, Noah 40. He's like one of my top 3 of all time, and I'm sure we could talk hip hop a lot. Let's dive into the SlideShare thing, because I think that's super fascinating. So you wrote a post about this. It's on your website. Yeah. It's called Create Perfect SlideShare Deck. That's the URL. Mm-hmm. A lot of business people present information. Do you think that slides are a great way to compensate for somebody that, if they're giving an actual presentation in person, like, can they make up for somebody that doesn't have good stage presence?
Oh, 100%. They can definitely assist. I think at the end of the day, having a good stage presence is still very key. But I think that if you have a great deck, it can take a presentation that might have been at a 5 and take it to a 7, right? Like, if you have compelling visuals, if you have some humor in your slides, if you're able to kind of establish a sense of intrigue at the early stages of your deck, I think that you can truly take a mediocre presentation and turn it into something that's good. I think that I don't think that a slide deck can take a presentation from good to great necessarily, because I think that at the end of the day, if you're not able to kind of communicate effectively when you're on stage, connect with people on a personal basis, then a slide deck's not going to save you. But I do think that a slide deck can assist in helping someone go from mediocre to good.
Awesome. And so do you need to be a public speaker to put content on SlideShare, or is that a platform like any other platform like LinkedIn or Facebook posts that business people can post content on and get results from?
See, that's the great thing about SlideShare that not a lot of people realize. You don't actually have to use your SlideShare presentations in a presentation that you give with your voice. You don't actually have to go to a seminar, go to a conference, and talk with these slides behind you to upload a SlideShare and have it go viral. The majority of my decks that are uploaded to SlideShare aren't actual presentations that I've actually given. They're just a compelling way to convey a message and deliver value to people that really gets spread. A lot of people don't even realize that SlideShare was acquired by LinkedIn. And that's why it's one of the best channels that I see in the world as it relates to B2B. Because LinkedIn and SlideShare are in cahoots. So if you're creating content and uploading it to SlideShare, LinkedIn is giving your SlideShare content a little bit of extra love when it's distributed on their channel. So if you start to put that on your LinkedIn feed, if you start to integrate that with your LinkedIn account, LinkedIn, its algorithm is going to give that content a little bit of extra love. So I think the SlideShare is a hugely underrated channel. And it's one that can give you an opportunity to connect with business professionals in a whole nother way. The quality of leads are significantly higher than I've seen on a lot of platforms. You can create a SlideShare, make the content very tailored. If you create a deck and it says, this is tailored towards B2B marketers, I can promise you that you're going to see the leads that go into that to be B2B marketers. You just have to understand the dynamics and the formula to create a great deck.
Awesome. Let's break this down a little. I mean, I love this. I just want to kind of dig into the SlideShare stuff. When you say it sends good leads, I mean, what do you have to do on SlideShare to get those leads? Is there something special in the content that you do? Do you put your email address? How does that work?
So there's a few things that I would recommend when you're creating a SlideShare. The first thing that you want to do is you want to ensure that you have an attention-grabbing headline, something that hooks people. That's just like basic content marketing 101. The title of your content is always going to be that initial advertisement for getting someone into your content. So you have to hook them with that. Once they get in, you want to ensure that you're delivering some highly valuable insights and information. Once you deliver that content and you're delivering people with content that's above and beyond what they would expect, maybe it's an ultimate guide to podcasting, maybe it's an ultimate guide to growth hacking, SEO, whatever. You go above and beyond with the actual content you're delivering. And then at the end, what you are going to want to do after you kind of wrap up and tell people how they're going to use this information, you're going to have a call to action directly in your slide. You're going to say, if you enjoyed this presentation, you should give me a shout at, this is my email. Or you should subscribe to my newsletter, or you should download this ebook. What's also great about SlideShare is they have a built-in lead gen for call to action that happens after you scroll through a certain amount of slides. So you can actually automate an autofill that shows up with all of your information showing as it relates to the input that you have placed on LinkedIn. And with the click of a button, you can acquire that lead's information. It will take their first name, last name from LinkedIn. It will take their company's name. It will take their email. And it will take their employer's name, and it will place that directly into a spreadsheet that you can then upload to a CRM, that you can upload to a drip campaign that you're going to run automatically and kind of nurture that lead until it closes.
Wow, that's awesome stuff. So that lead capture form is one of the kind of the secret weapons there in SlideShare. If I'm a business owner or responsible for content at a brand or something like that, and let's say we have limited resources or we're not even sure what content to put on SlideShare, maybe we don't have a great designer, like how can a company get started putting content on SlideShare, maybe with limited resources? Should they repurpose something that was a blog post?
100%. Repurposing your content is one of the most underrated, again, opportunities for content marketers. Everybody thinks that they write a blog post and that's the end of the blog post's life cycle. It shouldn't be. You should take that blog post and then repurpose it into a SlideShare deck. And it doesn't matter if it's amazingly designed. Like some of the most viral SlideShare decks have been created with very little design aesthetic kind of applied to them. They've been created by people who are simply makers, right? And they generate a significant amount of value, and they deliver a significant amount of value, and they generate a significant amount of traction and leads because they're delivering that value. So I would repurpose blog posts. A lot of my SlideShares are repurposed blog posts. I could write a blog post and maybe it generates 1,000 shares, then repurpose that for a SlideShare deck and it hits 50,000 shares. So the greatest thing about SlideShare is the opportunity to distribute this content in a variety of different ways. So if you're repurposing this blog post as a SlideShare deck, not only do you now have a content asset that you can then distribute in other blog posts, meaning you're writing a guest blog post for for one of your kind of partners. Say you're writing a guest blog post for a partner, you can take that SlideShare and embed it at the bottom. And then you're able to kind of have this piece of content distributed to another different audience and constantly keep the life cycle of that content alive. And then you can use individual slides as well, and then start to share those as individual tweets or Facebook posts to kind of convey the message even further.
So I like to talk about the mindset behind what you're explaining for a second. So we're not, like a lot of people think, oh, SlideShare is this platform, it's separate. LinkedIn's separate, this is separate. You're really thinking in terms of connecting all of these channels together, and how can you pass content from one to the other? I never would have thought of pulling out one slide and making a single asset out of that. I mean, that alone is something that you're already going to get a lot more value and bang for your buck that way. So would you say that's kind of an important part about your mindset, is just the overall like connecting different platforms together?
100%. I think that for me, one of the philosophies that I live by is that having great content is definitely important, but distribution of that content is king. I don't believe that content is king. I think that having great content is an important piece of the puzzle, but I think distribution is king. Like if you create a great blog post and you only have 500 followers and it doesn't reach anyone, that's not because you wrote a great blog post. It's because you don't have the distribution network. But if you have distribution, if you're able to take that asset that you created that is amazing and start distributing it through Medium, through LinkedIn, through Twitter, through Slack channels, through Facebook ads, Twitter ads, LinkedIn ads, if you have the distribution mechanisms in place, your content can soar. So I think that my mindset is around, okay, let's take this content and let's figure out different ways that we can distribute it as many ways as possible, so we can connect with people from all over the world and have them take value from the content that we've created.
Awesome. So you just touched upon like a whole slew of distribution channels, and you touched upon a little bit earlier. So we make a SlideShare, we post it. What are the top, let's say, 2 or 3 ways that you would recommend getting eyes on that SlideShare content?
So the first thing I would do is distribute it like crazy through LinkedIn. So I would upload it to different LinkedIn groups. I would upload it to my own LinkedIn account. And I would also create a post on LinkedIn. So on LinkedIn, you can actually create a post. I would write a post with my SlideShare within that post itself.
And that's LinkedIn Pulse, correct?
Yes, exactly. So I would go in there, I'd write a post using Pulse, and then I just publish it, and it would be the title of my SlideShare, and the SlideShare would be embedded. Again, that would all go out and be shared. I'd also reach out to anybody who's on the SlideShare team and say, hey, I just published this deck. Would love to hear your thoughts. You might get featured as SlideShare of the day, which on its own is a great SlideShare hack where you're able to kind of generate a significant amount of more views on your content. So I would first focus on the channels of SlideShare and LinkedIn. From there, I would reach out to people and start identifying guest blogging opportunities. I would start reaching out to people who have a significant amount of following and ask them if I can write a guest blog post. The guest blog post itself shouldn't be salesy. Like, you should stick to the value, the idea of delivering value to your readers, and create something that is amazing. Within that blog post, where you're delivering some high quality value and information, you're going to reference your SlideShare and you're going to embed it directly in that post. So when the users are reading through this guest post, they're going to see your SlideShare deck, and then they're going to consume that content and possibly share it as well. One thing that I often do is I'll write a blog post, maybe it's about Instagram, and then at the bottom I'll say, if you're just starting out with Instagram, check out my Instagram guide, and then I'll embed that deck at the bottom of the post. So those would be 2 primary channels that I would recommend. On top of that, I think that a lot of people underestimate their own network. Reach out to your friends, reach out to your peers, reach out to your colleagues, reach out to Slack channels and communities that you're involved in, and ask them to share your content. See if they'll give it some love, see if they'll upload it to inbound.org or Reddit or any of these different communities for you, and help you kind of accelerate the distribution of your content.
Awesome stuff. It's fun to kind of ideate a little bit together. Have you ever tried sending targeted Facebook traffic through ads to SlideShare content?
I have. So one of the hacks that I've done is I will run a SlideShare, or I'll create a SlideShare, upload it, and then I'll generate a bunch of leads through the amount of people who are going through the lead gen form on LinkedIn. Once I acquire those leads, I'll actually target them with a different deck, and I will upload a custom audience on Facebook. So I'll take all of those leads, upload them as custom audience, target them, and my ad will say, hey, I just saw that you downloaded one of my SlideShare decks. If you're interested in more, sign up for my newsletter. Or, hey, you might like this ebook that I wrote. Because I'm already top of mind, because they just read my deck and I have amazing characters of myself throughout it, they'll recognize my face. I can actually convert, and I see a solid conversion rate. I'm not 100% sure right off the top, but it is significantly higher than the majority of the tactics that I've tried on Facebook.
Wow, that is a sweet tactic right there. I've never heard that, so I never thought of that. So I just want to reiterate for the listeners, because I want to make sure that they heard that and understand what you said. So you create the first SlideShare, you upload it to SlideShare, you send targeted traffic from Facebook to that, and then you collect the leads, which gives you email addresses. Then you create a second piece of content and target them with the email addresses that you've collected. So you're targeting the exact people that you generated leads from, and now you're driving them to a second piece of content, acknowledging in it that you know they've seen your first piece of content.
Exactly. And I think that if you're a freelancer, like this isn't something that I've done. We are literally ideating right now. But one great concept could be like, you take that list and then you target them saying like, hey, maybe it's, maybe you're just telling them about your services. You're telling them about the value you add. If you're creating a deck and it's all about blogging, maybe you're like, hey, are you interested in learning how I work with clients to create better blog posts? You can probably generate some business through that. That might be a hack that I kind of remix myself and start doing some tricks with to see what I can do there.
Yeah, and the thing I know, you can create a lookalike audience too. So you have one set of email addresses, you can create a totally new audience from those addresses. So yeah, awesome stuff. Yeah, I love the idea, the idea of collaboration together. But that SlideShare stuff's great. I want to jump to kind of a new topic. And that is curation. So you're developing this. You're working on the company Get Create, which you're talking about. That you're creating content. So if I type in SEO, you're going to curate content for me to then share on my networks, which provides a lot of value, because I think people spend a lot of time trying to do that for themselves. And is that kind of the value of this tool here? Is it saves you that time of having to do that?
Exactly. One of the things that I was hired for a lot in my early days of my career was to help manage different social media accounts. And my role in that was to go out, go to Google, go to newsletters, go to different communities, find content that was relevant and interesting, and then curate it for their accounts. So I would go out, find a bunch of links, and then schedule it to go out over the course of a week. I thought to myself, there has to be a different way. There has to be a better way. And I also thought that it could be automated, which is what we've done with Crate. So we decided that because there's so much noise in the world, there's so much content being created, we needed to create a system that would cut through the noise, identify the best content, deliver it to people who wanted to manage their social media accounts effectively, and then allow them to schedule that content with ease directly in this platform without having to check out their inbox to see what the latest newsletter is saying, to not have to go to another forum and find out what links are trending, just to be able to go into this one platform, identify the best content, and then share it with ease. So our goal is really just about making people more productive. Time is a terrible thing to waste. And I think that a marketer's time shouldn't be spent digging and hunting for content. And that's what Crate's trying to do, is trying to save you the time by delivering it with ease.
Awesome. And one thing I'm a huge advocate for is the CEOs or the founders of companies themselves running a strong social profile and appearing like as a thought leader. Right. You know, if that's kind of in their personal DNA, like that's something that they get excited about. So I could see this saving them a lot of time. Now, one thing that obviously with this podcast series, my intention is not to try to sell people products, of course. So let's say somebody's like, they're like, oh, okay, I understand what Get Create does, but I still want to do it for myself. Like, do you have any tips for people that are just like die hard, like I want to curate content for myself? Like, what are some tactics or skills that requires to be a good
100%. So yeah, content curation is both an art and a science. And I think that the human element of curation should never be removed from the equation. I think that it is still very important to have a human touch point as it relates to curation, which is why with Crate, we never will share content for you and just automate that process, right? Like we give you the option to click an article, read it, and then share. And I think at the end of the day, if you're going to be a great curator, you have to think about your audience and think about what they value. Understand the type of content that they would actually find value from. If you are targeting small, medium businesses, then you sharing content about the enterprise probably doesn't make a lot of sense. If you are targeting people who are running a law firm, sharing a bunch of content about virtual reality might not make a lot of sense. So you're going to want to understand and put yourself in the shoes of your ideal audience, your ideal customer, and curate content like that. I think that the best example of content curation isn't one that a lot of people think about, but it's Netflix. Netflix is the best content curator in the world. What they do is they go out and they find all of these great TV series, they find all of these great programs, and then they curate it and then deliver it back to you based off of your own behaviors. So if I see that Dan's been watching a lot of How to Get Away with Murder or Full House lately because Fuller House is coming out, they'll make recommendations to you based off of your past behavior. So as a curator, it's very important that you check out the analytics of what content you're sharing that is generating favorites, that are generating retweets, and then ensure that the content that you're distributing moving forward is aligned with that. I think that it's also important as content curators to, again, put on the Netflix hat and understand that creation is also important. Netflix is rolling out their own content because they understand the value of owning it. So when you look at some of the movies that they're putting out, the documentaries, the TV shows like House of Cards, they're putting a significant amount of effort into creating quality content. And it's more like a 20-80 perspective. So 20% of the content on Netflix they create, 80% is curated. So when you are taking on that role as a content curator, also include some of your own content to ensure that you're not seen as somebody who's just reading, but you're also someone who's providing value to the world as it relates to the content you develop.
Awesome. I have to admit, I got a little worried where you were going with when you were saying, let's say Dan is watching. I thought you were going to say like beaches or something, you know. I want to take what you just said and apply that to like a bit like a business social account. So I have some clients that are like, let's say I have one client that's in a B2B industry and they have brand social media accounts. Like what kind of stuff should they be curating and sharing? You touch upon a little like in a high level, but for a business account specifically, like what kind of mix of content should they be sharing on social?
So let's say that they're in the marketing space. To make it easy, what I would be doing is sharing content that is coming from other thought leaders in the marketing space. So of course, you're not going to share content that is directly from your competition, but you're going to find those individuals who are creating content that is unique, that is intriguing, and that is very much thought leadership, and you're going to curate that. So you're going to send out a tweet. Say you write a blog post about SEO and how Instagram has an impact on SEO somehow. You write this blog post. I'm a brand, I see it, I'm going to share that, and I'm also going to mention you when I share it. So it's going to say, hat tip to Dan. As a result, you're going to get a notification saying that I've shared your content. You might retweet it, you might just reply back and say thanks. And what happens is we're building up a bit of a relationship. So you're looking at this brand and you're saying, okay, this person, this company is in this space. This company is investing time to kind of understand what the thought leaders are saying. They're understanding what's going on in this space. Maybe I should check out their product. Or maybe I should get on a call with them to see if I'm a right fit for what they're doing. Maybe I could write a guest blog post for them. So it puts you on their radar, and it shows influencers that this brand isn't just a brand that's kind of talking the talk, it's actually walking the walk as well. So what I would do with the curation is find those people who are providing a lot of value to the community, distribute their content as it relates to curation, and don't be afraid to mention them when you do it, because everybody likes to know when a big brand is kind of taking notice of their work.
Awesome. Yeah, I see some of my clients get a little gun shy when it comes to sharing content from other websites. So I'm glad that you mentioned that's okay to do that. You're providing value, because I've seen a lot of clients just sharing their own stuff and not other people's. And I think that's a smart tactic. It's because you're showing value outside of your own content.
Exactly. I think it's key. I think if you can do that, it also builds a community. And that's what you want. Like when you're a brand in this space, regardless of your space, you want to develop a bit of a little mini army online. And if you're building that with influencers, when somebody says something on Twitter that's negative about your brand, if you have a relationship with that person, they might jump in and fight that battle for you. So building relationships is key through social media. And I think that for brands, you need to recognize that as an opportunity for you to connect with some people who are influencers, but also people who are just in the space creating content and telling stories.
Awesome. Can you explain Zuckerberg's law? You mentioned that in one of your posts. What is that?
So Zuckerberg's law is a philosophy that he came back with, I think it was back in 2008, at an old web summit. He talked about how every year for the eternity of man, that content would be doubling. The amount of information that is created, the amount of content that is shared by us as humans would be doubling every single year. I believe that he's been correct so far. And the reason why is simple. Like right now today, we only have 3 billion people online. There's more than 7 billion people in the world. So as more and more people get access to mobile phones, more and more people get access to the internet, they're going to start taking more photos of them and with their friends. They're going to take more photos of their cats, their babies. They're going to be uploading this content more and more. So the amount of content that is being distributed, the amount of information being shared is at an all-time high, and it's continuing to develop. It's sort of like Moore's Law, where Moore's Law was kind of the number of transistors in a chip were going to increase every year, and how that was going to kind of change the world, and it has. I think that this was Mark's way of kind of doing something similar as it relates to content. And I think that because of this amount of content, it's more important than ever for marketers to kind of recognize, like, we're in a world that is filled with noise. Like, there is so much content being created every single week that it is becoming more and more challenging to differentiate yourself. So creating Me Too content just isn't going to work. You can't just create 3 tips to being productive on the weekend blog post. It's not going to fly because there's been 5,000 other people who have written that article. You need to go above and beyond, create compelling content, and take it to the next level if you really want to kind of differentiate yourself from the noise. But Zuckerberg's law, I believe, is still happening, and I think that it's one of the biggest phenomenons to happen in the digital marketing space and in humanity as a whole. That's really changing the way we interact with each other, but also how marketers and brands interact with potential customers.
Awesome answer. I love that. Yeah, I'd never heard of Zuckerberg's law before. Talking about new platforms, new ways to create content all of the time now, there's a new app that I've been using and I've seen you on there called Anchor. And personally, I've been really enjoying this app. For those of you that don't know, it's a way to share 2 minutes of audio called Waves, and then people can reply to you. What are your thoughts on the platform of Anchor, or just an audio platform in general?
I'm a big audio fan. I think that Anchor has a lot of potential. I think that it's a great channel for people who like to be kind of passive with their content. So when I say passive, people listening to this podcast can do it while they're commuting. Some of them could be doing it while they're working. Some of them could be doing it while they're hanging out with their friends, and their friends don't even know that they're listening to it. It's a passive consumption. And I think that what's interesting about Anchor is it doesn't need me to, similar to a Snapchat, where in Snapchat I actually have to give it my 100% attention, look at it, and consume that content. With Anchor, all I need is my headphones, and I can listen to something, and it can just run. I think that's very interesting. And I think that you've done a great job with Anchor because you're an early adopter, and you're changing the way that people use it already. So I saw you did an AMA. It was the first one I seen on there. Anchor is so new that there are no rules. There are no rules to how you use this platform. So kind of the way people use it is still so brand new. And when you hosted that AMA, it blew my mind because you had so many responses of people asking you questions. And that's where that passive consumption comes in, because I can just press play, listen to you say, I'm running an AMA, ask me anything about digital marketing. And then all these people ask questions, you are responding back. And I don't actually have to stray away from what I'm doing at the moment. I think Anchor is a very compelling platform. I have a lot of hope for it. I think that it will take a while for it to cross over into the world of the normals. But hey, Snapchat didn't start in the world of the normals either. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes.
So if you're a business person or marketer right now, would you suggest jumping into Anchor, and how could somebody leverage it for that purpose?
I think that you should. I think that it's definitely something to at least play with. I think that there's so many channels out there. I don't like to recommend everyone try everything because it's like trying to drink out of a fire hydrant. It's just overwhelming. I would recommend that you give it a bit of attention and check it out and try it, right? Like, go on, record a wave, see what you think, listen to a few others, run a couple experiments and see how it goes. I think that right now is the time to kind of jump onto the wave, no pun intended, of this thing, and really kind of differentiate yourself from the crowd and really build up a solid audience. So if anything, though, I would look to you for advice on how to use Anchor. I mean, you're killing it. I think that if there's anything I'm not an expert in, it's definitely Anchor right now. And I think that you're killing it. And I would look to you for as much advice as possible. So I'm going to put a question back to you. And what would you recommend as it relates to Anchor for your listeners?
Oh, man, that's nice of you. I appreciate that. I'll say something quick because after all, I am interviewing you, but I appreciate the chance to reply with something. Yeah, as I've said, I love Anchor. I think that what I've noticed is, for me, it removes the curtain or the walls between industries and the divide between people that normally is there on other platforms. So like when I go on Twitter, I can read somebody's bio and see that they're a digital marketer, that they live in Texas and all this stuff. But on Anchor, there's no bio. So you have to either go through and listen to somebody's anchors to figure out who they are and what they do, or you have to Google their name, or you can say, well, screw that. I'm just going to engage and talk to these people and I actually looked at it as an opportunity of not having that bias.
Right.
And so it's been really interesting that I've met people. I quote, met somebody today that's in the voiceover industry, which is super interesting. I met like a lawyer the other day. And the other interesting thing was when I first joined Anchor, they didn't have any follower counts. So you had no idea who is even authoritative or not. So it leveled the playing field, in my opinion, where all I had was a picture and somebody's voice and whatever their last wave was to figure out who they were. Right. And I think there's a serendipitous value to that, and also just expanding your mind from the fact that we probably put up these unconscious limitations for ourselves. But that's one. I don't think Anchor has done this intentionally, but just the way the app functions, it's been a super interesting thing for me. I've actually gotten more new Twitter followers in the last week or two from using Anchor than compared to before that. So that's been interesting too.
So cool. It's also because you're adding amazing value over there. You're killing it, man. I love what you're doing.
I appreciate it. So you're a Snapchat user. You know that I tried to use it for a little while. I deleted it from my phone. I don't think it's for me.
Did you?
Yeah. I found myself sharing, as you see, I was sharing more negative aspects of myself, and that just didn't feel right. But would you consider yourself more of a heavy Snapchat user?
I would say I'm pretty heavy with Snapchat. And I've been heavy with Snapchat for a very long time. But the application of how I use it has been very different, and it's adjusted. So when I was first using Snapchat, I was using it amongst my friends. So the reason why Snapchat exists is to use it amongst your friends. It's not for us marketers to come in and ruin things. But over recent times, I've started to kind of use it as a different platform just because my following has started to take off. And it's no longer just my friends following me. So I've started to kind of use it for a platform to kind of share insights about marketing, to share insights about entrepreneurship as a whole, freelancing and things like that. I will send the odd snap here and there that's kind of just showing my life as an organic kind of human being. But at the same time, I am using it for business as well. And it's been very interesting. There's some smart people using Snapchat. And if anything, using it to consume their content as it relates to kind of getting some insights that aren't necessarily on Twitter or on Medium or on all of these other channels has been very valuable for me. But at the same time, I'm still kind of trying to learn my way as it relates to kind of what type of business value and structure I want to add to this tool.
I think you made a great point, because I made the mistake of thinking of it of what am I going to push out there to people on Snapchat? But you're right. If you follow people, you can consume information in a different side of them just as a lurker that maybe you wouldn't see them share on Twitter or on Google Plus or on Facebook. I think that's a great point. That one point you just made me reconsider maybe putting it back on my phone.
I like it.
If somebody is brand new to Snapchat and they want to get started, what would you recommend? How do you even find people to follow and engage with on Snapchat?
So I would recommend if you're in the marketing space, there's 3 people who I would recommend you check out on Snapchat. One is Morgan Brown. He's of Growth Hackers. He's creating some very interesting snaps lately. Everett Taylor, his Snapchat is just Everett, I believe. And then Mark Suster. I always butcher his last name. He's a VC, but he provides a lot of interesting content as well. Start by following people who have changed their Twitter logo to their Snapchat icon, and you'll see that those are the people who are active and are really trying to put a lot of investment into this. You can also, there's a few Medium posts that have been written that are like the top growth hackers, the top SEO marketers on Snapchat that you should follow. I can send you a link and we can include it in the show notes kind of thing. But I think that would be a great starting point for people as well.
And what's your Snapchat name if people want to add you?
So my Snapchat name is coolestcool, no the at the beginning, unlike my Twitter, which is the coolest cool. My handle is, this is a funny story. Not a lot of people know this, so it's an exclusive on your podcast. But my name actually came from Lupe Fiasco's song, The Cool. I created that handle when I was back in university, and it kind of stuck. So that's where the inspiration came from.
Awesome. I recorded a piano cover of The Mural by Lupe Fiasco on YouTube.
Awesome. So you're a man of many talents. I had no idea you play piano.
Thanks, man. Yeah, we can chat hip hop later. But awesome. So yeah, I definitely want to encourage people. I think the message here is to at least experiment with and give a chance to the different platforms that are out there. And if you try it for 2 weeks, and if it's not for you, then you can go back to it later maybe. But I definitely want to encourage people in business to at least give them a try. So I want to ask one last question, then we're going to get to the contest and wrap things up after that. And this is kind of a fun one. If you could sit and have coffee with 3 marketers, it could be 2 or 3, small amount of marketers, who would they be and why?
Right. So this is a great question. And I spent a little bit of time thinking about it, and I was a little bit stuck at first, but I came up with a couple people who I think I would love to kind of sit down with for coffee and chat with. The first one is a guy by the name of Ryan Holiday. Ryan is the author of a book called Trust Me, I'm Lying. He was one of the early marketing executives for American Apparel and did some amazing work as it relates to kind of hacking the media, showing them how to kind of do some controversial but also intriguing things as it relates to marketing. And his book, Trust Me, I'm Lying, is one of those staples that I have on my bookshelf, and I've actually given out to a lot of people in the marketing space on a regular basis. So I would definitely grab a coffee with him. The other one is the legend Seth Godin. A lot of people have kind of stopped listening to Seth over years because he just creates so much content. And I'm one of those people. I did kind of get off of the Seth Godin, bandwagon, and kind of started going into more forums and things like that, and kind of got away from following his work. But I listened to a interview between him and Gary Vee the other day, and his mindfulness, his thoughtfulness is truly amazing. The dude can consume and hold on to information like I haven't seen before. He is definitely, without question, one of the most brilliant minds in marketing that I have seen in my life. And I would love to sit down with him just to kind of learn. And he also is a big fan of coffee. I was listening to a podcast about him. He doesn't drink the coffee, but he tries to perfect it. There was a podcast that I was listening to where he talked about his process there. So if he's making the coffee, I would definitely be down for that as well. And then the final one would be Rand Fishkin of Moz. I think that he's done a great job with that company, and I love his moral compass as it relates to kind of transparency and providing people with a lot of valuable information. I like how he uses his platform to kind of promote diversity, transparency. He talks about a lot of things that are really impactful and are much more important than click-through rates. So he'll talk about depression. He'll talk about the importance of having diversity and minorities involved with tech and things like that. So I look at people like him and I say, okay, this is somebody who's using their platform appropriately, and I would love to just have a coffee with them.
I want to highlight that Seth Godin interview with Gary. That was phenomenal, just as you said. So definitely go check that out. I was impressed by the fact that Seth was able to, in a way, like Gary's such a dynamic personality and Seth is soft-spoken, but Seth almost was able to be the kind of the bigger presence I felt in that conversation by putting forth his opinions and like stopping Gary and be like, no, you didn't use emotional intelligence correctly.
Right.
I thought, like, to me, and Seth was able to so calmly process everything Gary was saying, and then, like you said, respond with something that was just like blew me away.
Right.
I was super impressed. Yeah.
I was so impressed, man. I loved what I saw. The dynamic was interesting. It was literally yin and yang. Like you looked at Gary, who was running 100 miles a minute, and then you look at Seth, this legend in the game, who was calm, cool, and collected and was able to articulate himself so well. It was amazing to watch, and I would definitely love to grab a coffee with that dude.
So speaking of coffee, my favorite type of coffee is a dark roast in a French press. And black. I never use cream or sugar or anything. What's your favorite type of coffee or way to make coffee?
So we're on the same page as it relates to the dark roast. I will switch things up a little bit. I take a little bit of coconut oil. I take a little bit of ghee, which is clarified butter. I put it into a blender and I blend it up, turns it into a frothy deliciousness. And I consume that every morning. It has a lot of fat in it. I don't really eat my breakfast until about 11 p.m., which is odd, but I always start my mornings with that type of coffee, and it gets me running on the right path.
Awesome. And just before we wrap things up here, what is, this is just spontaneous question, but favorite, I guess, maybe hip-hop artist or song? I just really wanted to ask you that personally.
So I'm a diehard Jay-Z fan.
Really?
I've been, since Reasonable Doubt. I grew up listening to Jay-Z. I have followed him throughout his entire career. And I would say versus, I can't just give you a song, but I will say the entire Black album is something that I can put on repeat and listen to every single day and never get sick of any track on that album. I love Jay-Z's work there.
Awesome. Yeah, I have to agree. He's definitely in kind of my top 5 producer category. So I kind of rate things by producer versus MC, but
nice.
As a producer, totally agree with that. So awesome. Let's get to this contest and then wrap things up. So Ross has very generously offered to give a prize to somebody. And here's what you need to do to get that prize. So pay attention carefully, folks. What you're going to do is tweet this episode. If you've enjoyed it, if you want to share it, tweet the episode with the hashtag E on the Wire. So that's the letter E and then the words on the wire, standing, of course, for Experts on the Wire. So tweet this episode. We're going to choose one winner at random. I'm going to give a deadline as well. So within a week of when this episode comes out, and then we're going to choose the winner at random. So Ross, why don't you go ahead and tell people what you are going to award them?
So I'm going to be giving away 3 products that I've written. The first one is the Hustle Manifesto. It's how to escape the 9-to-5 in 6 months or less. It's a great resource for people who want to start a side hustle and then use that to kind of kickstart them into the world of entrepreneurship. I'm also going to give out one of my first books, Stand Out, which is a content marketing guide for entrepreneurs. It has aged well. It's been out for about 1.5 years now, but it is a great resource. And then I'm also going to give out the what I call the cracking the Reddit code. So a lot of marketers start to kind of get afraid when you talk about Reddit. I've been able to reach the front page of Reddit probably about 10 times over the past year. And in this book, I talk about the strategies that I've been able to use to do that. I've also never been attacked by Redditors. And if you are listening, Redditors, please don't do it. But I've been able to crack the code. And I think that there's a lot of insights in this book that will help people be able to get to the front page without making anyone upset.
Dude, that's awesome. So maybe we'll do a second episode at some point in the future because that Reddit stuff sounds fascinating. But for now, listeners, go check out his what was that called again? Cracking the Reddit Code or something?
Cracking the Reddit Code.
Yeah, go check that out. Is it on your website?
It is. It's on my website, rosssimmons.com. And if you're ever looking to kind of get in touch, you can always drop me a line on Twitter at The Coolest School.
Awesome. And that was my next question, but you already answered it. So Ross, this episode's been fantastic. I know I've learned a lot. That SlideShare stuff was phenomenal. The content curation. I want to encourage the listeners to leave me a review in the iTunes store if they feel so inclined to do so. And what else do we have to say to wrap things up? I guess stay tuned for next week's episode, which I believe is number 5, if I've got that all straight in my head. We have Phil from Local Visibility System. Have you heard of him, Ross?
I have. I've been watching what they've been doing. It's pretty cool. That should be interesting.
Yeah, Phil is one of my top 3 favorites as far as local SEO. So he's coming up. I'm actually recording. So I recorded Brian Dean's episode earlier today. And
nice.
Then you,
Brian's
and then Phil. Yeah, we're batching, but their episodes are going to come out probably twice a week. So we're going to kind of spread them out a little. But yeah, stay tuned for episode 5 with Phil, all about local SEO. Ross, this has been a awesome and fun and engaging interview. I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Dan, thanks for having me. I appreciate all the work that you've been doing here. I'm excited to see what the podcast has in store in the future. And my hat's off to you for bringing together such great guests and delivering this type of value over the wire.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Music by me.